Hi, how's it going? So I think that Spain definitely has the most dangerous traditions of any country, whether it's bull running, bull fighting, tomato fighting, or jumping over hurdles that are made out of newborn babies. I don't know why they just can't have a parade like every other normal country. But anyway, one tradition that you might not have heard of is these human towers that they build, which are called Castell. And it's particularly popular in the northeast of Spain, in the region around Catalonia, especially in Barcelona and the towns and villages around there. There's actually a pretty similar Indian tradition where they also build human towers around the festival of Krishna Janmashtari, I think it's called. Their towers are much more pyramidal in shape, and the objective in their human towers is to break open this earth pot that's hanging over the square. So whoever's on top has to crack this thing open, and loads of butter and milk falls out over everybody, and they're all delighted. One of the important strategies is to build your tower directly underneath the pot and not to one side, or else you might end up like this individual here who's swinging about 10 meters over the square. So I'm going to be talking about the structure of Castell and the physics of the structure of Castell using Lego. And so that's the idea of the talk. First of all, you need a base, and the base in Castell is called the piña. And there can be upwards of 100 people in the piña, and it looks like a giant rugby scrum, but from above you can see there's a very detailed kind of radial pattern going on. It looks like about 20 conga lines had a head-on collision. And then people climb over the shoulders of the people in the piña to get to the trunk of the tower. Now, if you have a very, very tall tower, you might need a second kind of supporting layer. So it looks like a scrum on top of a scrum. If that second layer is there, it's called the fallra, which means the cover. And if you've got a really tall tower, like 8 or 9 stories tall, you're going to need a third support layer. So a scrum on top of a scrum on top of a scrum. And if that's there, it's called the manillas, which means the handles. So people climb up the sides and they join the top of the Castell. And the person who's in charge of it all is this person down on the very bottom left. And he's called the cap de colla, and he tells everybody when to start climbing, so the thing is built for as short a time as possible. You can have different structures in your Castell. Usually each layer has between 1 and 5 people, and a very, very tall Castell might be 8, 9, or actually 10 stories was the record that was just broken last year. So that gives you an idea of what's involved. To finish off your Castell, you need the pomme de dalt, which is like the dome on top of the tower. And for that you need these 4 people. On the left you have the doses, then the acochador, and then the enchineta. And these are usually very young children between the ages of 5 and 8 years old because they're very light. And so these people start climbing up the tower when they're told to do so. The doses get there first, and they make like an arch between the two of them. And then the acochador climbs over those two and kind of locks them into position. And finally, the enchineta climbs on top of the acochador, and they raise their hand in the air like that. And that's called the aleta, and that kind of indicates the tower is finished building. And it's said that the 4 fingers of the aleta symbolizes the 4 stripes in the Catalonia flag. So it's kind of a regional pride thing. Now, it is a dangerous tradition. So injuries are pretty common. You get cuts, bruises, and broken bones. So for that reason, there's usually medical professionals on standby at all these events to fix whatever goes wrong. Now, what got me interested in Castell originally is that the structures are very similar to some of the research that I do. So I study these nanowires on the right-hand side here, and these are very, very small structures, a couple of atoms wide. And if I zoom in and look at the atomic structure of those, I can see that they're all in these really, really well-ordered layers, just like in Castell. But unlike Castell, the stacking pattern of each of these individual layers can vary. So it's not just the same layer one on top of the other. There can be different stacking patterns, and this leads to different properties in the wire. And so I wondered, well, is there anything that Castell can learn from nanoscience? Can we use nanoscience to come up with better stacking patterns to make taller and stronger Castell? So this is what I thought. I would have an AB stacking structure. And I thought this would be really good, because this is how you build brick walls. You don't just put one brick on top of another. You offset them for extra strength. So this is what some AB stacking order towers would look like. So I was curious, is this feasible? So I got in touch with some Castell teams in Spain, and 2 of them got back to me, the Castellers de Barcelona and the Jiquet de Tarragona. So thanks to them for the advice. They said it wasn't possible. And the reason is this. If you're standing on top of somebody else's shoulders, there's a kind of a Santa figure here, and it's normal to have a bit of a tremble or a wobble if you're in one of these towers, and you might momentarily put a little bit of extra force in your right foot than your left. And if you're on top of one person, they're usually able to redistribute that force, and it's fine. But if you're on top of 2 people and you put a bit of extra force in your right foot, that force tends to propagate downwards and across throughout the structure. It's not a problem if you're building a brick wall of people, but if you're building like a tower, like a tube, then these lines of force tend to go down and around the tower to the bottom, and the whole thing ends up going downwards, falling to the ground like a giant human screw. But that's just the theory. I think that we have a unique opportunity here today to put this to the test. we have just about enough people. So I propose that we all gang up together and have a lash at this. All right. Thanks a million. Take it easy.